Good evening, guys. A very warm welcome to this segment, the second segment of CEO Connect of Alumination 2022, an exuberant Eden. I'm your host, Tejas Lokhande, a coordinator at Student Alumni Relations Cell. Entrepreneurship is like living a few years of your life, like most people won't. So they can spend the rest of your life like no one else can. With this being said, today we have with us our esteemed alumni and established entrepreneur, Mr. Vineet Rao. He is the founder and CEO of the unicorn DealShare. Mr. Vineet is a computer science graduate of IIT Bombay from the batch of 2000. Mr. Rao has been part of the successful startups. He started his career as one of the fastest growing technology startup, Trilogy Software, headquartered in Austin. After that, he spent over a decade at Microsoft in Seattle, where he focused on building the database and enterprise cloud product, as well as spent a few years on consumer product. As part of the team launching the first version of Microsoft AI assistant Cortana, Mr. Rao is an enthusiastic entrepreneur, and besides DealShare, he has also launched 2 other startups in the area of visual reality and cross-country e-commerce. Before starting today's session, I would like to invite the moderators of the night, SARC coordinator, Ms. Vaibhavi Shinde, and Mr. Shlok Zanwar. So everyone, with high enthusiasm and without any further ado, it's time to invite Mr. Vineet on the stage. A huge round of applause for him, Mr. Vineet Rao.
A very warm welcome to one and all present here. What an honor it is to be a moderator for this session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. So talking about the present, how do you feel about being here to serve as an inspiration for all of these students at the place where you graduated yourself 22 years ago?
So first of all, thank you so much. And I'll talk about my feeling itself. It feels just so privileged, right? Like in our batch of 400, I would say I was mostly an average student. And today sitting over here, it feels so great coming over here to IIT after 20 years or more than that. Again, thank you so much.
Now that the topic of IITB has been brought up, let's dive deeper into your experience here. How were your days here and what are the things that you cherish the most?
So I joined IIT in '96. I did my BTech in computer science, and things were very, very different, right? The whole environment, there's absolutely no traffic outside, and most of the things were quite stable and static. But during our time, a lot of things started changing, and to be frank, it was difficult to start adapting also to the changes. Late 90s was the time, like when I joined our first CS 101 course, we were doing programming in Fortran, and by the time I graduated, there were just so many changes and everybody was doing Java and too many different things were happening. A lot of excitement and energy coming from the outside ecosystem as well. So I think definitely for me, it was an awesome experience, built a lot of friends, a lot of big network, only coming after to the IIT, and today also running a company, I am able to sort of leverage that network so well and leverage the brand also. Whenever or wherever we are going and we meet with the IIT Bombay alumni, there's a natural connection and ability to collaborate. So great that way.
That's so pleasant to hear, sir. So let's get to know you better. Like, what type of a student were you? Like, did you used to bunk classes? Like, what was the attendance policy?
So attendance, at least for our department, the first year was quite strict. At least all the professors used to make sure, that people are attending, and they had all kinds of ways to figure out ki koi proxy to nahi maar raha and so on. But second year onwards, I think computer science professors were quite lenient. Matlab, they didn't used to care so much that everybody is attending or not attending and so on. So I would also say for me, there were some courses that probably I attended fully, right? Even in the computer science. And कुछ कोर्सेज तो बिल्कुल मतलब समझ में ही नहीं आते थे, बहुत ऊपर से ही निकल जाते थे. अटेंड करके भी क्या करो, मतलब बैठ के भी कुछ फ़ायदा नहीं होने वाला था. तो आई थिंक इट वॉज क्वाइट नेचुरल इन टर्म्स ऑफ फिगरिंग आउट विच कोर्सेज you want to really attend and spend time on and which ones you don't.
I guess even we are going through the same right now. So brain drain has been a very trending topic lately. For the ones who don't know what brain drain is, it is the emigration of highly trained or qualified people from a country. So you did your BTech from IIT Bombay and then went abroad for more than 10 years. So how did you feel after receiving an offer from Microsoft to work abroad? And what are your views on brain drain?
So, lot of things changed during our time, right? So, till 99, the batch of 99, almost 100%, and I can speak only for computer science, so 100% of people in the BTech CS went abroad for their masters. I think everybody went abroad for their masters. In our batch, there was a lot of difference. The first time the entrepreneurship cell was created, few of our batchmates really created their startups right from IIT. That was the first time an IIT startup was incubated over here by one of my batchmates. Many of us were trying our ideas and working on startups. The ecosystem was quite hot. I was also working on one of those. And I really wanted to be in India. I thought that India will present a lot better opportunities. In fact, the first offer, I had multiple offers from US and also from US universities. But I joined a startup called Trilogy, which I went to US Austin for 6-8 months, but then came back to India, spent a few years over here with Trilogy. But still, ecosystem was very different. Today, it is so vibrant. People can do a lot of things. But back then, the options were very, very limited. So I think brain drain was quite natural because as for all of us also, we wanted to do more and learn more even after coming from IIT, right? So it was just natural to go to US where there's a lot of high tech work happening and be there and at least spend a few years. I spent a little bit too many years, but that's a different story.
You had indulged in entrepreneurship when you were a student. Despite your enthusiasm in entrepreneurship, why did you decide to work in corporates?
So we were building something what I thought was very innovative and future looking. But again, you need a lot of support from the ecosystem to make any company successful. Whatever your idea is, you need more people to join your idea. You need capital to fund it. You need you need adoption from your customers, whatever, whether it is enterprise or consumers. India was at that time very, very behind, right? There was actually no ecosystem at all. Even if you had to build a startup, then you had to think about how to cater to global audience or Western audience or US audience. Catering to Indian audience, either enterprise or consumer was just not possible. There was absolutely no readiness. So naturally, I decided, that I'll go spend some time with some US companies. Now, directly going after IIT, doing your BTech and doing a successful startup in US, again, was very difficult, if not impossible, right? So for that, obviously, you need the exposure of the market. मतलब हम लोग को पता ही क्या था वहाँ के बारे में. Today, at least there is a lot more exposure, right? Even during your years or even before, people are traveling a lot. Like हमारे time पे even internships abroad were not allowed. At least nobody from my batch did internships abroad. Only a few people from IIT Delhi had done internships abroad. And so the first flight in my life that I took was after IIT and then the first flight to US, right? And that was and then I got to know the market a lot better in terms of what is possible.
Great to hear that. So there's a saying that everything that happens for good. Do you believe in this? And how did your past experiences like the corporate job and 2 early startups help you in establishing this extremely successful venture?
Absolutely. So I think naturally, I feel somehow your life takes you to, where you eventually really want to be, right? And then all the decisions you make, consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, are taking you towards that path. Whatever I was doing studying at IIT and also wherever I was focusing on, eventually I can sort of connect the dots, taking me all the way to where I am today and eventually to wherever I want to be tomorrow. Long story, lots of examples in terms of what decision I made. Like even the first decision of coming to IIT Bombay. तो आजकल तो मतलब IIT Bombay बहुत hot हो गया है. मैं सुना है कि 48 out of 50 top JEE people are choosing IIT Bombay. But हमसे previous batch में ऐसा नहीं था. तो till 95 there was equal competition between Bombay, Kanpur, Madras, typically at least the top 50, right? In fact, my senior from my high school went to IIT Kanpur, right? So IIT Kanpur was probably more natural. But I decided otherwise. And there was resistance, क्योंकि बाकी सब बोलते हैं कि हाँ सभी लोग कानपुर जा रहे हैं, तुम क्यों नहीं कानपुर जा रहे हो? वही होगा best, मतलब क्योंकि सब लोग जा रहे हैं. So I think doing that, and then after graduating also, where all of my seniors and majority of my batchmates also went to do their masters. I also had masters from very good universities, offers. I had many offers in corporates in US, but I decided to join an unknown startup, जिसका ज़्यादा नाम नहीं सुना था. And I think that was a fine decision, a great decision that actually helped me understand and learn a lot more than what I could have had I gone for the natural path of doing my masters or joining Microsoft, or Google was upcoming at that time, and so on.
Coming on to your entrepreneurial life, how did you come up with this idea, the concept, and of course the name DealShare? Was there any story behind it?
So Microsoft also played. So I spent quite a number of years at Microsoft. So after working for Trilogy for a few years, I was with Microsoft for a number of years in Seattle. Now Microsoft actually was good. It provided me a great platform to work with a lot of people who had been part of multiple disruptions. Disruptions in multiple different areas in terms of changing the landscape of many different businesses. And I had some very good senior leaders that I worked very closely with. Microsoft had a brilliant senior leadership development program also, where I got to learn about what are the tenets behind disruptions, right? Like how does the world has changed and how it has really evolved, and whatever Microsoft itself did, how did it really make a difference? And that was when I really started going back again. Like why, even when, so one thing is I wanted to do a startup right out of college, but the purpose was not very clear. कि सिर्फ purpose ये था कि हाँ खुद का कुछ करना है, लेकिन क्यों करना है, कैसे करना है, it was not clear. That started building up a lot more. In terms of करना है तो कुछ disruptive होना चाहिए, और disruptive का definition क्या होता है वो understand करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. So I think my experiences over there enabled me to understand that, and that shaped me to really understand how the markets are changing and what could I really do, where could I go, and India felt like the biggest opportunity. Solving for retail felt like the biggest opportunity to disrupt, and that's how I came into solving for the mass market Indian retail. We are a very young company, by the way, right? So most of you, or probably all of you, have not even heard about us, partly due to we don't do a lot of marketing and campaign and so on. We are focused heavily on the mass market tier 2, tier 3 kind of population, and doing majority of grocery and other items retail as well. But the concept was really how the next generation of all the internet users, which are coming primarily on mobile and social, WhatsApp being their primary sort of place where they discover internet. And it is not just kids, right? It's actually kids is a different story, but everybody else which is coming online, even my parents, right? They don't understand what internet. I don't think they know what is the definition of internet, but they know what WhatsApp really means. So how do you use this this connectivity and build new generation models on top of it? Why Amazon is also successful, so successful, because they used a new way of connectivity with its customers. At that time, it was internet on desktop and browser. Now it is really on mobile and social. So we are exactly doing and disrupting a similar way, but a different audience with a different interface.
Well, your life is a true example of experience is the best teacher. So, like, your life has been a roller coaster, but you still managed to sail out of it so steadily with tremendous success. What was your motivation all along? Like, who inspires the tycoon that inspires all of these students?
So, I think शुरू से ये था कि मतलब कुछ तो different करना है, कुछ बड़ा करना है, right? I never really wanted to go with the routine that everybody else is doing. And doesn't mean that I was excelling at, taking that particular path. But I think that really drove me, right? All the decisions that I've made is in many ways somewhat different than what a natural progression would have been. Because I always wanted, I just did not want to settle, right? Like looking at, अगर कोई आप natural progression वाला decision लोगे तो आपको पता है कि जिसने ये 10 साल पहले लिया था वो कहाँ है, 10 साल बाद भी आप वहाँ पे होगे. That is just something I did not want to know where I would be in 10 years. And the only way to do that is change the course. So I'm pretty happy, I did that. Obviously, it was also a big risk. क्योंकि एक चीज़ ये होती है कि अगर आप नेचुरल पाथ ले रहे हो तो आपको एग्जैक्टली पता है कि आप बहुत सक्सेसफुल होगे लाइफ के अंदर, बहुत पैसा होगा, ये होगा, वो होगा, राइट? बट इफ यू आर चेंजिंग द कोर्स, यू डोंट नो व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हिट यू, बट यू शुड हैव कॉन्फिडेंस. सो आई थिंक एटलीस्ट आई फेल्ट आई हैड दैट कॉन्फिडेंस कि हाँ कुछ तो कर ही लेंगे, राइट?
That's great to hear. How did you decide where to establish your company? Why Jaipur? Were there any startup perspectives behind it?
Yes, so I was born, brought up in Jaipur, and when we decided to build this different kind of retail for India, we categorically did not want to be in Bombay, Bangalore and Delhi, because Bombay, Bangalore and Delhi is very confusing. It has very much mixed culture, and especially if you start catering to the more western part of these metros, then that doesn't represent a big opportunity in my opinion, because it's a very small crowd, and that crowd also has there are too many players going after that crowd, the crowd that Amazon is going after, and the behavior of that crowd is also evolving and changing really fast. उनको जो पहले 2 साल पहले चाहिए था वो बहुत ही चेंज हो रहे हैं उनके बिहेवियर्स. तो इसके अंदर मतलब कुछ बड़ा और सक्सेसफुल करना बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. We wanted to not go after that and go after rest of the audience. And when we dug deeper, उस ऑडियंस के लिए ज़्यादा कोई कुछ कर नहीं रहा था. When I went back to Jaipur, also met with many of my old, schoolmates and family friends and my parents' friends and everybody. उनकी लाइफ तो वैसी ही थी जैसी थी, सिवाय इसके कि now they were using WhatsApp. Right? That was the only big change in their lives. So I thought that this is how the big mass representation is, and we will be only successful if we live there, if we work with them day in and day out, understand them, make them successful. The only way for us to be successful is if they really feel that we are making a difference. And that's why we really chose Jaipur. Why Jaipur and not any other sort of non-metro city? I think it was very easy for us, right? Because we were born, brought up, we knew the culture, the crowd, the setting it up and doing it was very easy. And one of my other very close friends was already running a very large business over there. So I think that also helped me a lot.
When it comes to startups in India, I guess there is nothing missing. They are as good as startups elsewhere in the world. But Indian market is not large enough to invest a lot in technology. So in a situation like this, how do you compete with MNCs which have a large investment in technology?
So I think MNCs, who knows the future, right? But if you look at any evolving market anywhere in the world, typically the whatever the DNA of a particular MNC company is, or whatever technology they've built and whatever expertise they've built for their primary audience doesn't really work for other audiences. It has not worked for, let's say, China. It's not working in Latin America. It's not really worked for India also. I don't think it was shortage of investment that many of these MNCs have really put into India. But every evolution is different and the time is different. It will require a different thinking and different solutions. I think technology cannot be the forefront of solutioning. Your customers are your forefront. You have to really first think about what is the problem you're solving, why, even whether it is even a problem, and can it create a large business? and then you have to build the right technology to solve that problem. And once a company gets established, it's very hard for them to really change their mindset and go into a different direction. That is what I learned at Microsoft also. A lot of new companies that came up, right? Google came up, Facebook came up, all of these companies came up. Apple came up with the mobile phones. Microsoft had all of those technologies and heavy investment, including research, but it was not able to, grab those markets. So once a company gets established, doing something massive change, at least I have not seen anybody do that. And that is the opportunity that gets created for startups. Every new ecosystem, every new country, every new market, it has always been sort of owned and developed by only startups across the world.
Your observational skills are quite appreciable, like observing that MNCs couldn't accommodate to the normal crowd. So like, I'm sure there are a lot of great technologies at DealShare, and you are a great technologist yourself. But how is Vineet Rao as a leader? And what is your leadership style like?
So technology, in fact, I don't get to spend as much time as I would like on technology, right? Ideally, I would like to spend 100% of my time developing technologies, but I don't even get 5% of my time. So that is a big gap that I need to figure out how to fill. Because as the founder and CEO, you have to take a holistic view. So you have to basically have a very sharp focus on the problem that you are trying to solve, and what does that really mean, right? In terms of solutioning, in terms of what is the solution that is going to work, and not every solution will work. So it is also a very iterative process. And then you have a large team which is working with you on the solutioning. So you as a leader, it is very important that you understand all the aspects, and you cannot just be focused on one or few of the aspects of the business. So it was very difficult for me because I had largely focused on one aspect, right? Technology. How do I really focus on manufacturing or sourcing or operations or all the other things? And startup actually makes it very natural, because शुरू में तो you are only a few people. तो 4-5 लोग हैं तो सब कुछ खुद करना ही पड़ेगा आगे बढ़ने के लिए. तो करना ही पड़ता है. It becomes natural. And that is the other reason why many of the large companies are not able to do, because they think about कि ये 15 चीजें करनी है, उसकी टीम्स बनानी है, उसके एक्सपर्ट्स लाने हैं. वहीं पे फिर अलाइनमेंट नहीं होता, किसी को भी सब कुछ नहीं समझ में आता, एंड इट बिकम्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. तो मेरे लिए दैट वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इवन एज अ लीडर टू रियली एंश्योर दैट आई एम केपेबल ऑफ लीडिंग, राइट? इफ आई एम लीडिंग अ सोर्सिंग टीम, स्पेशली विद पीपल विद हैवी अमाउंट ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस, तो पहले मेरे को एटलीस्ट एक रीजनेबल लेवल पे तो पहुंचना पड़ेगा ताकि आई कैन वर्क इफेक्टिवली विद देम and also challenge them at times. So I think a lot of hard work to do that, but at the same time providing them also with the right kind of support and solutioning. So that is the other part that I heavily focus on.
It was really insightful. Coming to the next point, nowadays placement season is going on. So what is the most important quality that you seek in an ideal employee of yours?
So I want bold and ambitious people. So I think rest all can be really gained and learned, right? If you are very ambitious, you want to do something really big in your life, you want to get ahead. Every time you want to get ahead, from wherever you are and compared to your peers. So that would be the most important thing. I think rest all will work out one way or the other. Maybe you'll have some successes, some failures, but those are the people that I also love to work with. जिनको आगे करना है, आगे जाना है, कुछ करना है, and so on, right? It's not really, and I've seen in my batch and lots of other people at IIT. In fact, I've seen with a lot of people who are not even at IIT, but who are very bold and ambitious, and they are very, very successful today. And they've gained skills, and they've learned even after, not being able to graduate from a premier institute. Now, being at IIT, you are already at a very, very strong advantage. And I would just hope and advise to use that advantage.
This was a great point for the final year students aspiring for placements this year. So coming back to you, how do you plan your day as an entrepreneur, and how do you feel is it different from a college student or a corporate employee?
So corporate employee तो ज़्यादा choice और freedom होता नहीं है, तो not a lot is in your hands. You have to, whatever culture, whatever environment you are, you have to really be playing by those rules, right? being an entrepreneur feels like back being in college, right? Because you have the full flexibility. And I definitely sometimes over-exploit that flexibility. But ये कभी नहीं रहता कि मतलब एक set of rules से you're working. And whether it is about the timings, whether it is you're working late nights or weekends or not working, and you can just fly off anytime wherever you want to go and take a vacation. So I think, and I do that a lot, right? So I don't go by any kind of fixed schedule or fixed timings. And that is the kind of culture also that makes startups really successful and makes it fun and exciting for everybody to eventually focus on doing your best work, but at the same time, utilizing your time very efficiently. A fixed kind of regime automatically makes you inefficient, in my opinion.
That's true. What changes do you observe in the startup culture of India? And what are your views on the future of logistics and supply chain ecosystem in India?
India is still so I think it might be very hard to understand, and I talk to a lot of people on this, because there's so much, that in the last few years has happened, and so much of news that many startups and there's unicorns and there's foreign companies coming and doing. But from my opinion and from where I see, India is still a very, very early stage market. It's a very nascent market. India, what it would be 10 years, 20 years from now would be very different, in my opinion. And lots of problems, or most of the problems, are yet to be solved. And solving them in a unique way, in a way that is right for the current time, for the current ecosystem, will create much bigger companies in future. So, but I do like that the ecosystem is very vibrant. So anybody who has the intent, ambition, or the desire to take on a new problem to solve has the support from the ecosystem. आज से पहले वो एक बहुत बड़ा lacking था. So we have done really well to get to that point. And now I think there'll be lots and lots of startups really picking up new big problems and solving it. The ecosystem is fully ready to support it, right? I see so many angel investors now, so much of early stage investment ecosystem. So you want to do a startup, you'll get full support doing it. The only thing I also advise people is do some validation that the problem you are trying to solve is actually a problem for the audience you are really catering to. How big of that is a problem? If you solve it, can it create a viable business? And is it a big enough business? ये 4 पॉइंट पे बहुत कन्विक्शन होना चाहिए, बिकॉज सबसे ज्यादा मतलब लॉस भी आपका ही है. आप 2 साल 3 साल 5 साल उस पर लगाओगे, और ये 4 ही मतलब क्लियर नहीं थे जो शुरू में क्लियर हो सकते थे, तो कुछ होगा नहीं. अल्टीमेटली तो यू वांट टू क्रिएट, डू अ स्टार्टअप टू क्रिएट अ बिग वायबल बिजनेस, राइट? दैट इज द अल्टीमेट ऑब्जेक्टिव. तो दैट इज वेयर आई फाइंड मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टार्टअप्स not having the clarity. And at least I, running my business, that is the first question I ask. किसी भी आइडिया के बारे में मैं सुनता हूँ, और कई लोगों से मिलता हूँ जो 2-2, 3-3, 5-5 साल से कर रहे हैं, और मुझे उसकी वायबिलिटी नहीं समझ में आती कि वो प्रॉब्लम ही क्यों बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, या उससे बिजनेस कैसे बनेगा. So anybody who wants to do their own startup, I would strongly encourage that do a lot of exploration, research and validation that you are picking up the right thing to solve.
That was very insightful. So like you said, like people don't have clarity while making startups. So like, would you like to give any do's and don'ts to the budding entrepreneurs of the nation?
Yeah, I think the biggest do I will say is use your network. You guys don't probably still don't understand. You have a very powerful network and a very powerful brand with IIT Bombay. Use it. Use it to do a lot of validation. Reach out. If you're going to send a note to anybody, any of the alumni or anybody else also in the industry, that you're from IIT Bombay and you want to get some questions answered, they'd be very happy to do that. They'd not do it for anybody or a lot of other people. They don't have time. But all of us, including me, right? I would love if some student also reaches out to me and is asking me something. But other than that, I get like hundreds, maybe thousands of questions on LinkedIn. It's physically impossible. and also on WhatsApp for me to really sort of connect with everybody. So I think use that really well. Do your validation in terms of you're picking up the right problem to solve. And then ensure that you have passion to solve that problem also. Actually, as an entrepreneur, ideally, one of the skills you need to have or learn also is your passion should be with entrepreneurship, not married to a particular domain or idea. Because a lot of things can change, but you should do your startup or build a business only when the most important thing for you is to build a big business. मेरे ख्याल से don'ts भी मैंने इसी में बता दिए, तो I don't think there's a very specific don't. But one thing, keep a timeline. Keep a timeline check. If something is not working out, realize that it is not working out and do some changes, make some changes. Don't sit down and just hope that कुछ बहुत change हो जाएगा और it will start working out.
Few of my friends are doing startups in college, so I'm pretty sure this is a very insightful answer for them. Finally, throughout your startup journey, what insights have you gained or discovered?
So my biggest insight was that I thought, and when I really started conceptualizing this was long before that I even started, right? It was few years before that. And I thought that it is a big enough problem. There could be a viable business. My biggest insight actually was that the problem was also much bigger than I thought it is. मेरे को लगा था बहुत आसान होगा, कर लेंगे, है ना? तो इतना आसान था नहीं. बहुत मुश्किल था और आज भी बहुत मुश्किल है. But that also means that the opportunity also is maybe 10 or 100 times bigger than what I thought it is. So I think, but we have rolled up our sleeves कि अब मतलब घुस ही गए तो solve तो करना ही पड़ेगा. मतलब there is no choice कि नहीं कर सकते, right? But I think it has been also a lot of fun, working on this, because it's like nurturing your own baby, right? In many ways.
So coming on to the last question, what could be the next big thing at DealShare, and how do you as a person see yourself in the next 10 years?
So next big thing, I mean, there could be a lot of things. I actually don't even know. We are hiring really good, smart people. And maybe that's the next big thing, right? That we'll have lots and lots of very, very smart people working at DealShare, creating and working on many different and new ideas. हमको लगता है कि हमने एक platform create कर दिया. We have created a new platform which is very different than most of what other startups are working on. And it's a very juicy platform also because we have a connect with the very wide range of mass market audience. उनके लिए उनकी life में तो problems ही problems हैं. So there is lot of big problems that we can really solve, and it will only depend on having the right passionate people to go after those problems and solve it.
Phew, that was so much to learn and ponder upon. All the answers you gave showed a new point of view and exposed so many different perspectives. Now that we have gained so much knowledge, just to let off some steam, we have kept an informal activity for you. We call it this or that. Essentially, we'll name two things or verbs and you have to choose between the two. This will be a quick activity, so you have to answer all the choices rapidly. So I'll start with the first one. Core or non-core?
Core. Night.
Social time or alone time?
Social. Street smart, always.
Work or play?
Play, anytime. Happiness, of course.
Sleeping or attending classes?
Do I need to answer that? Sleeping.
Work vacation or free time holiday?
Free time holiday.
Give a speech or write on a paper?
Nothing. No, not both. No. I don't write or read or like to give speeches.
Go forward in time or go back in time?
If I could go back in time, anytime.
And the last one, love marriage or arranged marriage?
Love marriage, always.
Is there any story behind your marriage?
हमारा थोड़ा complicated है, but it was still definitely not arranged. So my wife is also from Jaipur, born brought up over there. She's also sister of one of my very close friends. Although he's not from IIT Bombay, he's from IIT Delhi and runs a very big startup over there in Jaipur as well. So we knew each other for a very long period of time. बट उस टाइम पे इतना वो कल्चर नहीं था कि डेटिंग वेटिंग वगैरह सब कुछ कर सकते हैं, है ना? तो इट्स नॉट लाइक प्रॉपर काइंड ऑफ लव मैरिज, बट या एटलीस्ट आई फील वेरी फॉर्चुनेट दैट आई गॉट टू पिक और डिसाइड who I want to spend the rest of my life with.
I think this is a good motivation for all the single people present right here. So this brings us to the end of this talk. It was indeed a very knowledgeable and insightful session. Everyone, please give a cheer to Mr. Vineet.
Thank you, sir. That was such an elegant and mind-boggling session. Now, I would like to invite Astha, core team member, to felicitate Mr. Vineet.